What's up, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Chromecast. My name is Joe. I'm joined here today by Robbie.
What's up?
And Gabriel.
Hello.
I just noticed we always have to have some banter,
Sure.
and this banter just came totally natural. Gabe doesn't have any green on.
He's got green on his watch face. We
Does not count.
We determined before you got here this morning
I was
that
sleepy, and I
it
said
does.
yes. I don't know. Luckily,
Andrew.
Bring me one of the golf mats. I'll wear it like a kilt.
I think it does.
I mean, is it displayed at all times? Did you have watch face on at all times? See, it was turned off there for a second.
yeah, okay.
Green wasn't being displayed.
But as adult men, are we really going to pinch
No.
each other?
I mean,
I double dog dare you.
no, never mind. That feels weird.
don't care.
Never mind.
It's like I'm not going to wear green on purpose.
No,
Just
it's funny,
be
it's
like,
like-
go ahead.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Dare
like the
you.
most green.
It's
like,
funny
thing
because
that
we
I have.
were a little foggy this morning because we played some sports yesterday afternoon.
It's not like you said swords.
Swords. We played with some swords.
We did some sword fighting.
I mean, they are kind of very small little swords.
So we were in here playing our little morning round, and it occurred to me that we were getting our son dressed this morning and intentionally putting a green shirt on him because they're having a St. Patrick's Day party at school, and
just
totally
didn't
missed
even-
me.
Yeah, that's what
But-
clued me in. Is
Yeah.
my wife dressing
Yeah.
my son.
Right. Today is my brother's birthday, though. My
that's cool.
older brother's birthday. So for us, I mean, St. Patty's Day, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's always been it's my brother's birthday. And he doesn't wear
Always.
green, and he's about twice my size. If you want to go to his office and pinch him today, you go right ahead.
Pinch and run.
I've always liked St. Patrick's Day. My family's,
Not
you know,
for
my
the
dad's
whole pinching thing.
No, not for that, but
It's always just been goofy.
It's fun. It's just it's kind of one of those unifying things. Everyone just celebrates.
yeah, exactly.
There's no like political class involved. There's no real opinion. It's just like, hey, it's a cool day to just have fun.
Let's have fun and drink some beer.
Yeah, you know,
And-
we my family. I grew up Catholic. We did do the whole, corned beef and all that stuff. We did the traditional Irish meal, and because my mom was her descended from Ireland.
Yeah.
but it's just a fun,
just a fun day.
occasion. And then working in the restaurant business. I mean, it was
Oh
always
yeah.
Yeah.
green
Yeah.
beer and decorating.
Well, it was
and all
funny.
that,
We
you
were getting ready for our nonprofit drawing that we do on Wednesdays yesterday, and we were down getting dinner, and I was like, man, there is like no one here. And Robin was like one of the managers here, two of the restaurants downtown. Was like, yeah, tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's getting ready for that. You
was
know?
loaded
I was like,
up.
oh yeah.
gotcha.
So downtown's probably going to be
Did you go to
wild
Neighbors
tonight.
or-
Neighbors. Yeah.
I was wondering when you pieced out the camera last night. I was like, he done went home and showered and changed clothes
Changed
and everything
clothes.
because we were all dirty and grimy when we got back.
yeah.
He dropped me off in the parking lot. I was just like, get out.
Yeah. I was like, go.
All right.
I got to run home.
I was wondering because I was
Come
like,
back.
his clubs aren't here or anything. He just
Yeah.
bailed.
yeah. So, okay, let's hop into some of the
Ooh,
news from the
before
week.
we do, I've got a surprise.
What?
Piece of thing that we can talk about.
I
'cause
love
it's
it.
Always great. No one's even noticed yet that I'm walking around with this.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, I saw you swap them out. I didn't realize you still had it. Is
You also
that
noticed I don't have something
Go
on my
ahead.
wrist.
Go
is
ahead.
that a decision?
Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Has a decision been made?
Go ahead, Andrew.
It is a decision.
Why though?
It's a decision. So I'll share my whys. It's
It's got to pass the 2-week
I know.
test.
This is how quickly things
gotta-
happen
it's gotta
because
pass
2
the
days
2-week
ago
test.
he was over there.
Here's the
and
thing.
Now he's over there.
I do still like the S22 Plus. It's a
Yeah.
good phone. But there are two things now. One thing that came up this morning, and I'm surprised. I figured when it started bugging me that the messaging thing we were working on
Yeah,
today,
that was weird.
I couldn't get resolution to it, so there's still no fix. And not a huge deal. I'll explain it in a second, but not a massive deal on like a daily use case thing. But that kind of stuff really, really irks me.
What
I don't
was it?
like it, so I'm gonna talk about it in a
So
second.
what?
But then from the beginning, and I haven't told anybody this because I'm like, I think it's gonna work itself out.
He's been holding
I don't
it
want
in.
anyone to know.
There's something a little off about the touch input on the S22.
Really?
And I found a
Oh,
couple
that's
people talking about it.
Oh, really?
So every game you play feels a little like jelly scrolling. And so when
Oh,
you move,
really?
like it's a slight hesitation behind. But I remember that happened. Remember the 8T?
There was,
the
yep.
OnePlus 8T did that. And I returned it immediately because I'm like, no way I'm going to deal with this. But then I ended up getting it back later on. I'd forgotten about that issue. And when I got it back, I was like, oh, crap. But they'd fixed it.
They had fixed it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a touch sampling rate issue. Samsung always has the best screens in phones, so eventually it's probably going to get fixed. It's just a little annoying now. So every game I play, so both the PUBGs have it. Like it just feels like this a little bit.
Everything.
Yeah. So it's just a touch sampling issue.
Yeah, that's hard to play mobile games when it's that fluid.
It's a little bit
that boggy effect.
So that's been bugging me. I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna persevere. I'm not gonna let it bug me too much. I'm just gonna deal with it.
That's why his ears kept getting red when we were playing PUBG. We didn't even know.
Didn't even know.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna.
That's why we've been losing.
That's also why we've been losing. Yes, I wasn't going to say
and
it.
I can't say anything because the minute I complain, everybody's going to be like, oh, you're going to return it. It's like, I wasn't going to let that be enough. But then this morning, what were we doing? Oh, well, I was going to write an article about the whole preview thing. And Samsung, specifically, in their keynote, one of the cool things that attracted me to the phone to begin with was with Messages and Duo, they have some stuff that Google hadn't even rolled out yet. And so now Google's talking about, we're going to talk about some of the Messages stuff, but one of them was the YouTube previews in Messages. And I was like, I just want to see what this even looks like or does. So I was like, hey, let me shoot you a YouTube thing. Let's see what it does. And well, Gabe's on Android 13. The video's like playing. He can play it in Messages.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's
he was like,
really
but I'm on,
dope.
He's like, I'm on Android 13. And I was like, oh, well, maybe it's, I kind of figured it would be a feature. Eventually, it's going to show up on all the phones that use Messages. And so I was like, oh, so send me one. It didn't work. And it said, your SMS text. I'm like, wait, what? Why am I not chatting? So we spent 30 minutes trying to figure out why.
Because if you use RCS, like in the thread, it'll say you're chatting with so and so or you're texting with so and so.
And I was texting everybody.
When you're chatting, you get the read receipts and the ellipses and all that stuff.
And it does the little encryption lock or something too.
Yeah, it's encrypted, all that kind of stuff. And so
all the goodness.
And I was like, what's going on here? And so I thought, well, maybe he's on Android 13. That's why I sent you a text.
Yeah.
And when it was
it's
stuck,
always
I'm
my
like,
fault.
Uh-oh.
What's happening?
Uh-oh.
So start looking it up. There is an issue. Basically because Samsung's working with T-Mobile to enable RCS on the back end via T-Mobile's thing instead of just using Google's backbone for all this.
Right.
Well, if you've used Google's stuff before, getting it to bounce over to T-Mobile's, they have a little thing, put your phone number in here and it'll basically unhitch it. But that wouldn't work. So they said, well, if you have your phone, you can go. So I powered this phone up and went in, turned chat off. That didn't work either. And so I waited until close to lunch to see if maybe over time it would work, and it's still not working. And I'm like,
uh-oh.
Nope.
So are they saying it's still hitching it to that phone?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Do iPhones still do that? You've seen that with iPhones, right?
Yeah, they had a way you could remove it from
horrifying.
And that's basically what's happened. Well, it's not so much that it's stuck to the phone. It's stuck that most phones use Google's back-end servers for it. And I've missed some text too. Like some text just never showed up.
Yeah.
And since I had the phone, I was like, that's just weird. But they're probably stuck in. They were chatting with me before and didn't get sent over to SMS, and so I'm like that. That frustrates the hell out of me. The core features of the phone can't be compromised to me.
Yes.
And it'd be okay. I'm just not okay with that.
And services like that should just work anyway. You shouldn't even think about it. I remember we had a guy I worked with at Swope that had the whole iPhone issue where his iMessages had been linked to another something. And at the end of the day, most people, it washes out eventually. But for whatever reason, his old number and his regular iCloud account, whatever the issue was, as far as I know, to this day, he cannot get iMessages on his phone.
Oh, jeez.
That's insane.
It's the stuff like that.
I would just get a new everything.
Yeah.
I'm like,
be done with it.
If they can't figure out how to do that, like you just need to be like, cool, we're not going to use T-Mobile. We're going to let you just keep using Google until we find a way to easily transition.
Right. Put a thing.
Put
a thing in Messages that says,
click this button and
use
swap.
Google's backend servers.
It's strange that it's doing the little, like almost like you were saying, jelly scrolling thing. That's really weird.
And I found some other people complaining about it, and it was really bad.
Isn't
when
this
you
panel?
turn their,
aren't these panels from Samsung?
Almost all OnePluses are. Almost all phone panels are.
And I feel like we haven't.
But like I said, I've run into it with another phone, and it's been fixed over a software update.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, it's probably something that's
Isn't
very
there one of the
AT
early
wasn't-
Pixels that was doing that? Especially, but that was like that was more of a refresh rate issue.
Yeah, that was a refresh rate
Yeah.
issue with the screen. So this is a touch sampling
Yeah.
issue of
Oh,
the
okay.
actual
As you're
digitizer.
moving, yeah.
So if you like the Asus, for instance, that ROG phone, it's like one of the things that they promote is,
Yeah.
hey, it's a
Super
120
high.
hertz screen, but it's a 200 and whatever hertz touch sample rate.
Yeah.
And so that's how many times the screen is looking for movement when you touch it, when you
Yeah.
touch the glass.
Makes
You
it
can
super
have-
accurate, super.
It's precise. It's
Very
gonna-
precise, yeah.
Right. It's going to
Yeah, yeah.
move quickly with motions on the screen.
Yeah.
You don't have to have super high sampling rate for it to feel right. It just has to be synced up.
Right.
And something's out of
So
sync.
are you going to return the watch too?
Yeah. Only reason I got the watch was to go with the phone.
Yeah.
And having it out on the golf course yesterday was like the trial of what I would.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to use this and actually use it? I think I looked at it twice just because I was trying to see if it was going to work, and I'm like, man, my scope and
Yeah.
I could use GPS app in the 2 times on my phone or whatever and put it back in the bag.
Now for
Yeah,
me,
just
I
like-
took a phone call on the golf course on my watch, and that made it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only frustration I have, and I'm gonna check and see if they'll let me. What's the return policy there?
I hopped in a chat and made sure, and they went in and sent me my
I hope
return
it's like
stuff,
30
so.
days. I don't know. I think I'm gonna. You should just give me yours and take this one back.
Send that one back.
I'm
See if
fine.
they say
Yeah, I'm
anything.
fine with the 40
kidding, I'm not gonna do
millimeter.
that.
But my wife's one, not complaint, but her one ask when I got hers was that she wants WhatsApp installed. Now you can get
Yeah.
WhatsApp notifications and reply, and that's fine. There is a way to OTA install WhatsApp using like an ADB over Wi-Fi, and it works.
Saying a lot of words over
Yeah.
here. that-
Anyways, so you're just you're side loading
Yeah.
the on here. The 40 millimeter, the display is too small. When you get to the screen where you put your name, you cannot see the next button,
Right.
and you can't scroll up. So if you can't get past that screen, you can't enable the app. So
Yeah.
all the videos I've seen of people doing it, they're
all the
using
44.
the 44, the classic. So
The 44 was like a tiny smidge too big for me. Just like the lugs stick out just a little bit
Now,
too
I do
much.
have to say,
but it's like I've gotten used to it already.
I gotta
I
say,
love it.
like, I like the watch.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a watch guy to begin with.
Right,
So
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna make myself use
Yeah.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
honestly, I just the whole Fitbit thing and maybe like a Pixel Watch thing is probably gonna be more my speed. Of,
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to install apps. I don't even want to have any apps on there really. I just
Right.
kind of want it to be an extension of my phone. I did like the idea of having LTE to take phone calls.
Yeah.
What I didn't like was it jumping back and forth between being connected to my phone or being its own little guy. And so, like, I went to take a phone call in the car the other day. It was popped up on here. I'm like, cool, just going to answer it here. I answered it, and it's like, check phone. God, and I'm driving. So
Right.
I'm like, it answered. Like, it's answered. And I hear my wife talking to me. I'm like, where's
is
my
there
phone?
a setting to default it?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm like, if I
Always
hit the
answer
button
on the
here,
watch, yeah.
let me talk here. That's your
Yeah.
whole thing.
I'm pretty.
I don't know.
There's probably a setting.
It's stuff like that.
Yeah, just little stuff,
My
yeah.
only issue I've had with it is like you stop at the store or something like that, and I leave my phone in the car because like got an LTE watch, just
No big
leave
deal.
it, you know,
Right.
whatever. You get far away from your phone enough, and it's like, hey, you're disconnected from your phone, and that's fine. That's what it should do. But sometimes it will not automatically switch to LTE, even though LTE is on. It's set to auto. Wi-Fi is on. Bluetooth is on. Sometimes I have to literally open the connectivity setting and scroll down to mobile plan or whatever that setting is, click it, and then the SIM card will disappear and it's connected.
Yeah. It's to me, like, I'm not enough of a watch guy. I don't want to go through all that stuff.
Right.
I want to put the watch on. It does the basic stuff I need. Like, I
Yeah.
like steps tracking, but a Fitbit does that. Now, granted, I went and gave my Fitbit to my son, so I don't have a watch anymore.
Oh, poor
And
guy.
I can't, man, not kidding. Like, he's on the sidelines at the football game. I coach his flag football team, and I had to tell him to stop messing with the watch. Like, Trisha got video of him. He's over on the sidelines by the bench, marching around the bench to get his steps in.
Wow.
We checked the other
That
day
is- that is
with
your
the scale.
son.
He has 5% body fat. This kid is a
He
rail.
is. Yeah, he is lean.
And he's real concerned about getting his steps
get his
in
steps,
because
man.
there's a thing on his watch now.
Right.
There's a thing, and
It's
like
his brain can't
obsessed.
let go
Hey,
of that.
good for him, man.
He
It's
got-
easier now than when you're 40.
He got 23,000 steps
Oh
the other.
my
Jeez.
People are like, my metabolism used to be so much better when I was a kid. No, you moved all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't stand still. He never stops moving.
Yep.
Now I've got something I can look at and be like, yeah, see, he doesn't. I watch him. He never stops
Yeah,
moving.
That's really
I mean, we played golf yesterday and didn't get half that, or about half.
I was happy. I ended up with 12,000 yesterday.
I saw this. I think it was yesterday morning. Have you seen it's a video, but it's a meme, and it says every kid when you tell them to sit still in a desk, and it's like this ballerina. She's in a regular old school desk, and she's just doing all this weird acrobatic stuff like all around the desk. I'm like,
That's my
that
son.
is literally my daughter.
Yeah.
Like,
Just
stand
has
still. I need to
move.
talk to you, and she's like,
Yeah. Got to keep moving.
please stop.
funny.
You're
I
making
told my
me
wife-
anxious.
I told my wife the other day, I was like, I'm just going to start. I feel like I'd lose a lot of weight if I just moved all the time. And so at the house, she's like, you wouldn't last 10 minutes. And so I made it a point to last 10 minutes. I did not stop moving for 10 minutes. I was moving something for 10 minutes.
It's
just to prove her wrong.
exhausting, man.
Like, it is. And I'm like, man, that'd be a really, really strange workout method. But,
Or we've become sedentary.
People come.
Oh, I'm super sedentary. I'm like a wart. I get stuck at my desk and I'm realize I haven't even moved my foot. My foot fell asleep because I didn't move it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I don't move.
I need to go to the bathroom,
Robbie
but
is
it's
a
fine. I'm
toad.
going to stay
Just-
right.
Nope, I'm not a toad. I'm the wart on the toad. I'm that still. Too focused. It's no good.
So, all right, well, there you have
Wow.
it, folks. The watch and the
But
phone
I held
are gone.
I held it in
yeah.
until the podcast.
we
I was
got
trying
it.
to hide- That's why I dropped my
He's-
phone.
he's like-
I was keeping it down here on my lap in my shorts. I'm
He's-
wearing golf shorts, so they're super slick.
He's catching on to us giving him crap about stuff, so he's just holding it in until he's like made up his mind.
Well, no, I wanted to save it for this.
Yeah.
But I was like, if we have the conversation out there, it won't have the same
Oh
effect.
yeah,
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
for sure.
That's
no one's
great.
surprised.
That's
I mean,
great.
you, dear viewer, should not be surprised at this point. I mean,
No, but
it's
this
been-
is
That-
been a-
I-
a
yeah,
month
I mean,
of tumultuous.
just the surprise that he kept it hidden. That's
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's
he's
the
also
surprise.
not a good pranker. I mean,
Oh,
he's
worst.
not. So
I'm
the
the
fact
worst.
that he has kept this,
But if it
is
was
very
just
good.
kind of happening this morning, like that's when
this
the
all
final
transpired in
decision-
the last few hours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well-
and I want to say, like, because I know the tendency of people that probably watch or listen to our stuff and like, I went and bought a Galaxy S22 because you said you liked it.
you're probably never
I
gonna.
still, you can't hold on too tight to anything I like or dislike. But the phone's still great. Like, it's not like, oh, I hate this phone. I can't wait to get rid of it. It's like, man, there's still so much in it I really do enjoy. And
Yeah.
Did
it's
the
a
ROG
great
phone go back already?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're Pixel
back.
again. There you go.
Yeah.
back.
Andrew, you're the only one left, man.
we got,
I'm back.
We got an
gonna-
extra one
we're
in there
gonna-
for you.
I mean, maybe, but I have a very strong resolve, so I can
Yeah.
hold on to the iPhone.
I don't.
yeah,
I'm
Good for you.
Good
I'm
for you.
I'm a weak wart.
yeah. The
I sit still a lot and I
the
tend to
watch
change stuff.
the watch has been excellent for me, just
Yeah,
for,
and that's-
for
I would say
running
that.
Yeah,
and
the watch
for
is
disc
awesome,
golf.
too.
Yeah,
It is.
I'll
I'm just
keep it
not,
for that,
I'm not
honestly.
really a watch guy
Yeah.
to begin with. So
yeah.
the
And
main
I think that's my appeal is that why I like it so much is because I am a watch guy and I wanted the latest Tick watch to be that
Right.
Wear OS, and it
The
just
smartwatch
it
that
wasn't
finally
quite
was what
there.
you yeah.
And then the LTE model was good, but it wasn't good enough, and it's still 2.0. And then you had to have Verizon.
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the Pixel
Yeah,
Watch.
I'm,
This is
I'm still very interested in
Yeah.
whatever Google's going to do with the Pixel Watch. It's still just unclear what it's going to be.
I still feel like it's going to be more
Yeah.
leaning towards people like me. It's
Right.
going to be more like a Fitbit
Like,
kind of thing.
I don't-
two
hopefully
watch
it'll-
lines to one phone line.
Probably
know.
they just added it like
Like, I don't really want to get rid of this. I really like it because
no, like the forwarding stuff and everything would probably be.
You
I don't
mean
know,
the same-
cellular-
you mean the
I
same
was cellular guy?
watch- You mean the same watch data line? So
No.
if you like wanted to get another watch and you just put the
Oh yeah,
put it
you
on
can
that.
change the. Oh yeah, I guess I could just do that. You
Yeah.
can change
just move
the
your service over to it.
yeah, switch them back and forth.
Yeah.
Because I really like this one because it does not get in my way when I'm playing golf because my larger analog watches do.
I will
But
say the 44 didn't
Yeah.
bother me at all playing.
Okay,
Yeah.
well maybe I'll just go get.
No,
the
I'm gonna
44.
blame it. Actually, I didn't play that
That's
great.
what it was.
It was first outdoor round yesterday. I'm blaming the watch.
Hey,
That's
we
why I'm
shot
returning.
par. We won't
did.
say how we did it, but we did it.
There's no shame. 3-man scramble.
Yeah,
first time out on the
first
dirt.
time out, yeah.
We've been playing inside for a
Of
long
course,
time.
Yeah.
I only played once last year. I mean, I've played it, but I've only
Yeah.
played it once last year. So.
Love
Joe's,
to play
Joe's
there.
very familiar with it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with it.
Would love to play there. more often. That's
yeah.
for sure. So let's talk about one thing, and then we'll take a quick break. I want
Now that we've talked about nothing.
no,
That's why when you kept looking up stuff to talk about, I was like, I do have one thing that's probably going to take up some time.
He was
not going to say anything.
He was holding it. So gotta mention an interview that we did this past week.
Yeah.
Something new that we're trying to do. We haven't. I was like, why is that moving? We haven't done many of these. This was the first video interview that we've done. We've done interviews before, but we haven't done a video interview before. It was just a really fun conversation with a spokesperson from Google. She is a product manager for the Google for Education team, Taryn Sullivan, and we just had a really fun chat. And I don't know anything about EDU stuff. I have no idea about classroom stuff because I don't. Like, you guys would probably know a little more than me, but it was
not much.
It was just a fun chat, and we just, I just asked the dumb questions that I feel like people that listen to our show that maybe aren't super familiar with classroom might ask, just the basic stuff. And so it was a pretty kind of broad conversation, but they announced this new thing called practice sets, and the whole premise behind it I really like. And she mentioned in the interview that she was having a colleague with somebody, or she was having a chat with a colleague about, practice. And somebody else said, well, yeah, practice makes perfect. And she was like, no. And then the other person said, practice makes permanent, right? Was that the quote? Practice makes permanent. And I love that. And I think as a principle of what they're doing with this whole practice sets, that's what they're trying to get to. And they're trying to reinforce practice, right? And make practice more fun, and using some adaptive learning and machine learning to do really cool stuff for making it easier for teachers and giving teachers more insights, but then also helping a kid's having trouble with a problem, they might get a little explainer that pops up, that helps them or whatever along the way. But just this whole idea of a different way of practicing and trying to create habits and stuff, it's just been something I've been thinking about a lot, especially kind of beginning of the year, thinking about New Year's resolutions and that sort of stuff. And, so many people, and it's me too, I create these, overly ambitious and have these big lofty goals, right? But the goal isn't really the thing that you got to focus on. You need to focus on the habit, right? Create the habit.
How do you get to that?
Right. That the goal is just the outcome of the habit, right? If you do the habit over and over and over. So it was just a cool conversation, and just kind of that backbone of it I thought was really interesting. And we're just excited to try to do more of these interviews. So if someone's listening or watching that wants to do this sort of thing, do interviews with us, we would love to. So hit us up, info@chromeunbox.com.
Yeah.
If you want to be on the show and do an interview, it's just an easy way to connect with people. Mm-hmm. It's an easy way to talk about and promote, services or products, because it's, there's a little bit of a setup on our end to get the shot set up and everything, but it's just, we sit down and have a chat.
Right.
And that's our style. Obviously, anybody listening to this who's a longtime listener knows that we're pretty casual, and that's the way I want it. I don't want our podcast to be some buttoned up thing. And so interviews on podcasting is just so much fun, I think. And I want to do more of them. So excited about this first one that we were able to do with Taryn. And then we actually went and captured one other one. Might have had a little issue with the video. We're going to try to figure that out. Andy Cam's going to try to make it work. We'll see. I'm not totally sure. Basically, we're using a new platform called Riverside, which has been awesome for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's a great service. What they do is really cool. Studio quality audio and video for remote kind of podcasting, interviews, stuff like this.
Yeah, so real quick, just a shout out to them, what they do.
Yeah,
it's the idea is
awesome,
brilliant. So the live interaction you get looks like a normal, chat that you would have, and there's a reason you get 720p normally when you do, web video, because it needs to be live, real time, quick. It can't be bogged down and buffering.
If you process too much, you're going to create a little delay.
Yeah. You don't want any of that stuff. You need live interaction. So you sacrifice a little bit of quality in order to make sure that everything's fast and fluid.
Yeah.
Well, you get that when you're talking during the interaction, but it's in the background saving a full HD or what they go up to 4K, right?
Go up to 4K.
4K
yeah, they're the first
version,
to do 4K.
you know, assuming that you're recording with a lens that can do that on your end. And very high quality studio audio as
So
well.
is it essentially running 2 streams maybe to their server? I mean, somehow
It is streaming. It's streaming the version that you're using to chat, and then it's storing that local file basically.
The bigger, more high quality
in your
file,
cache,
and then uploading it in the background.
instantly uploading. As soon as you start recording, it automatically
But
starts
it's
uploading.
keeping your live interaction
the lower
down
quality, just so
enough.
you
So
can.
that's
Yep.
brilliant.
So cool.
It's so
Yep.
brilliant.
And then some really good audio too. They do full
Except-
wave, uncompressed, in 48 hertz and everything. And
Except for firewalls.
yeah,
You gotta watch out for
We had
firewalls.
a chat with someone who was probably on a work network.
100% was on a firewall.
Yeah, and we should have. We did 2 interviews back to back, and I thought I was going to have a little bit more time in between them. But after the first interview with Taryn, our Google rep was in there, and we were just sitting and catching up and using that time on a live chat to sit and catch up on a couple things. And so then it kind of bled over into our next interview, and so then the next one was a little rushed. We should have noticed, and I think Andrew did say he noticed that it wasn't uploading. So afterwards,
But it's the first time.
yeah, it was the first time.
Right.
This was the first
Yeah.
session of trying it.
No
Second
way you
interview,
know.
but first kind of session of trying it, and it just wasn't uploading. And we tried a couple things, tried to have the guest try a different couple ways to do it. It was at end of the day for him. He was taking the next couple days off, and we kind of just left it at, okay, we'll try to download our backup version and see if we can make it work, and we'll see. It might just end up being an audio version,
Yeah.
which is
hopefully
which
we'll
is
work
fine.
something out. But
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
figure
which
it
is
out.
which is fine. So we'll make it work. But yeah, definitely go check out the interview with Taryn Sullivan. That was a fun chat. And yeah, even if you're not super familiar with Google Classroom or any of that sort of stuff, it was still just a fun chat. So go check it out. We'll link it. Okay, let's take a quick break for an ad, and we will be right back. Today's episode of the Chromecast is brought to you by Visor for Chromebooks. Does your school district have a Chromebook one-to-one program? Are you struggling to manage your district's IT assets in a spreadsheet? If you're tasked with managing hundreds of Chromebooks or other IT assets like projectors and smartboards, you'll want to listen to this. Visor is a Chromebook and IT asset management solution designed specifically for school districts. Visor seamlessly integrates with the Google Admin Console and your student information system, including PowerSchool. With Visor, you can easily see which student has which Chromebook, manage repairs, and even automate disabling lost or stolen devices while notifying parents, all in one click. To find out more and to lock in up to 20% off, head over to visor.cloud/unboxed. That's VIZOR.cloud/unboxed, or just click the link in the show notes. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. So we had some other things we were going to talk about, and then Robbie had to drop the news on us about the phone and the watch, and got us all off track.
hey,
It's
it
okay.
worked.
It was good discussion.
It worked
Good
according to
discussion.
plan.
The viewers and listeners needed to know.
Yeah,
they
you
needed
gotta let
to
people know, because
They
then
had
they're
to
going
know
to be
what's
like, why
going
are you carrying the Pixel around again?
It is funny though. I mean, like I was sitting here thinking about it as we were taking the break there. Like, yes, someone might say, "Oh, well, I bought this phone because you told me to go buy it." It's like, rarely do you say, "Go buy this phone"? Like, this is the one you have to buy. We're just saying, hey, like, and for you personally, you're always going to be doing this. Like,
yeah,
you
this is not
changing
gonna
phones,
stop.
testing stuff is
Yeah.
what got us to
And
where we
more
are
often
now.
than not, Robbie preempts most things with "Don't do what I do" or "Don't be like that," and
Right.
it works for him, and
Right.
it's
It's like, yeah, if you want to be the person that's trying the new things and finding the new things, and follow Robbie, he's going to be doing those things. If you want just the phone that's just going to, just work, you can just get whatever phone I've got.
That's just not been the case necessarily so far, but
Yeah.
hopefully they're on the edge of ironing out most of these tensor issues with the Pixel 6. Again, I've said that all along.
Exactly.
Like, they're going to get to the point where they've they've got this stuff figured out.
Yeah, like I'm excited for the 7. Like I'm ready to be like, I'm a Google flag. I mean, I'm using the 6 now, but I'm like, I want to get the Google flagship the day it comes out, and I want to be a Google flagship user. And
absolutely.
But I really think the 6A is going to
6A is going to sell
it
well.
has potential to be.
I'm
huge for
interested
them.
in that.
Yes.
And I think the watch, assuming it comes out and they don't shoot for the moon, like just do all the basic stuff really
Clean
well.
Wear OS with some Fitbit integration is all it needs.
Like it could nail it, and then you've got solid phone options, great watch option,
and maybe some
then,
new earbuds.
Yeah, they're hiring people up.
Yeah.
You know, did we talk about that last
We
week?
did.
I don't
I think we
Yeah,
we
we
did.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, all the gestures.
Yeah, so they're
Skin
So
gestures.
they got patents going on. They're making a bunch of hires for people that are in that industry and are great at making wearable tech. So they're clearly ready to continue trying to fix it. Like, there's no way you can explain to me that, or convince me that there are people at Google looking at the Pixel Buds and then looking at the competition
And being like,
and going
these
like,
are good.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, we did it.
We totally got it. Like,
Right.
why would we change this? Like, you don't have to change the form factor, probably. You don't have to change a lot of those things. You just need to add a few things to that
Right,
mix.
because initially when they first started coming out with like new speakers and new displays and new earbuds, the whole made by Google branding kind of was enough. It was like, hey, here's new earbuds made by Google, and they look like the
they're
phone.
gonna be
and
awesome.
They have the aesthetics, and there's a lot of great things about them. That at that point in time, that was enough. When they first came out, I was super excited about them, but then the latency and then some bugs and whatever, and it's like, okay, the whole gimmicky side of that, just go ahead and set that aside, and let's just focus on good, solid hardware. You don't have to be the latest. You don't have to be the most cutting edge hardware. Just be really good hardware, which is what their A series of phones has been. Really good, affordable hardware.
Yeah.
Focus on that. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
I would guess if
I'm
we
excited.
get new Pixel Buds, they would be in the fall. There's been no
Yeah.
like full rumors or anything
No,
about
I think it's
that,
going to
but-
be 6A and watch in
Yeah.
the June.
Yeah, and the
time
foldable's
frame.
still flying around
Yep.
out there somewhere. And I don't know what's going to happen with it.
It's gotten the news has gotten a little quiet on that.
Yeah, it's quieted down a lot. And I mean, who knows? It could still be they're going to wait till October and it's going to have the next Tensor in it,
Which I would.
and they're going to launch it with the Pixel 7. Who knows?
Hey,
I don't
if-
know.
Which at this point they should.
Yeah, if-
honestly.
Yeah,
And I feel like the 6A was there some headline, and we may have even written it. Was there some headline that the 6A was even getting pushed a little more?
it is
like
getting-
late
it's
June or
being
something.
delayed a little
Well,
bit.
there was one that said it was delayed, but then after that, I don't remember if it was John Prosser or someone came back and said no, they are still on track for it.
Okay.
So at this point, it
Who
might be
knows?
May, it might be June. Who knows?
Yeah,
Whatever. It's
we don't
coming.
know. But I think the foldable now, we're getting to the point where if it came out with the original Tensor, I think they're going to run into issues unless they know, hey, we're making like 5,000 of these.
Right. We're just doing it just to
This
get
is
it
just
out
to
there.
get it out there
Yeah.
and let people test it and start
Right.
working with this. If that's the case, then they could release it with Tensor.
we have to make one for Robbie Payne.
I'll get it.
He's going to get it.
I'm
That's
going to.
for sure.
Send
I'm
it to the
100% gonna
T-Mobile
get it.
store in E-Town
Yeah.
today.
I'm going to get one. Because again, I think like my brother-in-law's got the Fold, and he had it down here the other day, and I was like, I really did like a lot about that phone. It was just that outer screen, man, it's so skinny. He's like, I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm like, dude, you've been rocking that thing every day for 4 months now, and you're still kind of getting used to it. Like, that's I can't.
No, I mean
do
a
that.
week with a phone, it should feel native
Yeah,
to
you
me,
should be
or
like, oh,
something's wrong.
This is fine. This will work.
Yeah.
And and we've hashed over that before, but
Little Snickers bar screen.
yeah, but the Pixel Fold is looking to be more like that Oppo phone. So
Yeah, more
the fine
squarish.
end. Yep. So that could be really
Very,
intriguing.
very cool.
Really intriguing.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about some of the news that's come out of the gaming summit.
Yeah. So it is,
It is,
technically I looked at Google for Games Developer Summit.
Perfect.
There we go.
Not a conference. Conferences are,
What's the difference?
yeah. Conferences are, those are more like sit down meetings.
I think
where you're
summits
talking.
summits are more interactive. And
Yeah, summit is like
Google's
more-
conferences generally have fireside chats and things like that, so it's more interactive.
What's a
Who knows?
junket?
I'm making up things. I don't know.
Remember junkets?
And
A
Andy Cam's
junket?
Andy Cam's doing
I
some research over there.
don't know
I'm gonna
the-
look it up.
a
Let's
jun-
see.
Is
Alright,
that
hold on,
like
what
a
we got?
Baloo is a
the
bear
difference in a
and
summit
Wuzzle
and
means
a-
to mix?
A junket is an extravagant trip or celebration, one enjoyed particular one enjoyed by a government official at public expense.
Oh, okay. So it's like when the president goes to Martha's Vineyard or something.
Yeah,
like that.
okay.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, what's the summit and conference here?
The summit is still the gathering of people, but it's because it also means the peak or top of the mountain. So that's kind of like it's better than the conference because it's the
Okay.
peak.
It's the
Gotcha.
Peak performance.
It's
kind of thing.
the one conference to rule them all.
right.
Exactly.
There you go.
But yeah, there was some news that came out of this. I think let's start with we're moving on from junkets and conferences and summits.
There's a
We're
whole
moving on.
wiki thing about the difference. A summit,
We're moving on.
top of a mountain, conference, active consulting together formally, serious conversations, interchange of views. I feel like that's happening at this summit,
stand.
though.
I stand.
So I don't know.
No, I say no chance. I'm just gonna
No.
let it go.
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's just call it a junket.
It's just it's a junket.
There you go.
So
It's
there
fun
was
to
some
say.
there was
It's a
some,
new word
there was
to
some
me.
news
Never
that came out of the summit. I think the main news that you might have seen is that Steam,
Which
Steam
is funny.
Alpha. Steam Alpha
Steam-
In
is
beta. Which is funny because it wasn't actually the main news. It didn't even make the press release. It was a
accidentally announced. I think.
45-second snippet squeezed in between.
I don't even know if it's 45 seconds.
When Google talks about cloud gaming, they always put Stadia second. It's
GeForce
Now and then Stadia. And then they kind of glazed over the gaming overlay stuff too.
Yeah, it was a
Which
quick
I
mention.
get it. This stuff is beta and it's only going to be tested by a few people, so they don't want to draw a lot of attention to it because Google has in the past had the habit of saying, "Hey, here's this thing," and then being like, "Oh, wait, it wasn't ready yet." You know,
kind of like Steam
yeah,
for Chromebooks.
Oh, you didn't like Steam?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the guy behind the camera was like,
Yeah, so
read the copy, Steve. The copy's good. Just read it.
Yeah, we won't go into details, but apparently the gentleman Greg Hartel, I believe, who's did the keynote speech, I don't think he made the mistake. I think it was misconstrued that was not technically supposed to be an announcement, what he said, because he said today Steam Alpha is available because it's only going to be, it's either beta and dev or dev and canary channels to start with, and it's only going to be for certain beta testers.
And it's only like 4 devices, right?
Yeah, there's only 5 or 6 total devices on the list. It has to be 11th gen, Core i5 or higher, 7 gigs of RAM. And he said that, and then he said, oh, and there'll be an announcement in the Chromebook community forum, which is like the community-driven support forums that Google has. Hey, cool, my battery just died. Did I lose my cast?
No.
Nope, awesome.
Nope, still there.
Pulling it from the internet for now.
Uh-oh.
So there was no announcement initially in the Chromebook forum, and you can tell from the announcement that it was kind of a scrambled, like Alicia, God bless her.
And she gone. Oh, yeah, connection lost. Great.
Yeah, there you go.
I got you.
She's been the community manager for a couple of years now, and she does a great job. But in all honesty, the Chromebook forum feels like it's kind of gone by the wayside. I feel like Google's not really tending to it anymore. They don't really publish updates or, hey, new features unless it's something really, really big. It's more of just a community-driven support forum, and that's
the keyword blog has become,
and that's fine,
much more robust.
Right. And this total side note, but if Google's going to continue moving forward in hardware the way that they are in public-facing software, they're going to need to create more dedicated support. And I'm not talking about support that's driven by volunteers, because that's Google.
I 100% agree with
the
that.
community forums are awesome. The people in there are extremely helpful, but it's nowhere nearly as bad as Reddit, but it has kind of a Reddit feel because everything's just shotgun. People say whatever they want, and you're not getting official advice from someone at Google, and that makes it difficult.
It makes people that are already on edge and a little angry about trying to get something solved more angry when they get a snarky reply from some random volunteer person.
Exactly.
And that's not to shoot down anybody that's in those forums trying to help, but those people get overwhelmed with stuff too, and they're going, at the end of the day, when they start getting aggravated, they're not thinking like, oh man, I got to be careful with what I'm doing here. They're like, this isn't even my job. Like,
Because Google wants to say, hey, here, we're a hardware company now. Buy this new thing that we made. Oh, and by the way, if you need help, here's some unpaid volunteers who get some gold stars and a free trip once a year. Go bother them about your Pixel Bud connectivity issues because our support's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Anyway, total side rant there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he mentioned Steam Alpha. It is not available yet. I've found some things on how to possibly get it working. I'm still trying to figure that out, but it's supposed to be coming in the next days or weeks. But it's only going to be a limited number of people. It's going to be, they have what they call dog fooders, which are internal testers and people that are trusted testers for Google. And then if you have one of these devices and you're in the developer channel, it might just show up. But you do have to have the Borealis flag enabled in order for it to just show up. So I'm not holding my breath that we're going to see it for at least another month or more. But,
I'm so ready to just to see it running.
that's
And,
all I want to do. You know,
my expectations are not it's going to show up in day one.
yeah.
We're going to be like just killing some games on this. It's going to be awesome.
Right.
Like it's going to be probably pretty rough, but because of how good, generally speaking, the reviews have been of the Steam Deck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Proton that basically writes those Windows games over, like that whole thing is in play here. That's what we're looking at. But we have a different level of stuff to overcome. Like
Right.
we're also talking about being able to run all of this in a container on a Chromebook.
Right.
So like
Which
Steam
we've
Deck
seen-
is at least just already Linux.
Yeah.
Like we got to kind of get to that point first. And so
But we've seen Steam running on Chrome OS, and it runs really well with the bits and pieces that are already in place. If Proton and Vulkan all get, completely fully integrated, it should work really well on these 11th and 12th gen Chromebooks.
I think
really
I think
well.
eventually it is going to be a very legit
As you
option.
look at games like the ones that we talk about playing, CS, Counter-Strike, and Day of Defeat, all your source games, this machine right here would just
yeah.
chew them up.
Yeah, they're not going to have those. Aren't going to have an issue. And I think even like probably double and some AAA games,
Yeah.
I think are probably going to be very playable. And
Yeah.
you may not get to the point where you're running, 120 frames per second, 4K on these things. But I bet there'll be a lot of games you'll be able to play at like 1080p at medium to high settings at 60 frames.
Right,
And no, that's not like professional gamer, but people who are into games that much aren't going to buy a Chromebook to do it on anyway.
This
This
PC
is
already.
right. This is something like, I have my Chromebook. I can still play that game while I'm out and about.
And that's the thing, is that this appeals to people just like me, because this is we're still a far cry for competitive level gaming and hardcore gamers. But for me, I want to be able to play like Day of Defeat gun game and play it competitively with the people I'm playing with without having tearing and stuttering, all that stuff. And we've already seen variable refresh rate flags to prevent tearing. You have GPU support. Borealis is enabling Big GL, which is one of the new graphics things that they're doing. It's going to be more than powerful enough and smooth enough for me to sit and enjoy playing a game.
Well, I'm hopeful too. Like it'll get to the point where we can, like I've always dreamt of, like we'll stop at lunch and play PUBG Mobile, or we'll play PUBG New State.
Not anymore.
I'm like, it'd be really cool, like if we can all grab a Chromebook and hop into a multiplayer game that, it's just fun to play and hop in a room and do some of that stuff too. Like that becomes an option all of a sudden. We'll have to lend a Chromebook to Andy.
Yeah.
But everybody else will have one. Well, I don't know.
Do they?
You don't really keep
they
one
still
around
don't
either.
have. Do they have? They have Steam for Mac, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day they didn't, because we had to do boot camp to get Steam. When I
That's right. I
first
forgot
started
Steam
playing
does.
Day of
Forgot about
Defeat, it was on a MacBook that we had dual
Yeah.
booted, because they didn't have a Mac OS client at that point.
Yeah,
in
because
time.
I remember getting a Kentucky Route Zero set up on the
Oh,
old
that's right.
Mac.
Yep.
Through Steam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
local,
to be able
local.
to play that without having to go through all the hoops, to be able to just turn Borealis on and install Kentucky
Yeah.
Route Zero and play it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
that'd
some
be
of those
cool.
games are going to be absolutely fun on Chromebooks. Like these story kind of driven games that aren't trying to do fast twitch, crazy 3D stuff constantly. Like that's another library of games that I haven't messed with, because usually I don't have something to play it on.
Yeah.
And so like to be able to just pop a Chromebook open and be like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't
play
I-
this for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
30
I've
minutes.
owned Totally Accurate Battlegrounds for like 3 years now. I've still yet to actually play it on a playable device.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
a fun game. I own Portal 2, which I've never played through. I've played through Portal 100 times.
Right.
I have the orange box. There are games that I haven't played in probably 7 or 8 years. I would love to just hop back in and play them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And so there was some other news too. So you've got it wasn't them saying, I mean, he did say it was available when it kind of isn't.
100% is not. No, kind of.
Unless you know where it is, you let us know.
Yeah,
that was
if-
the Burgess
if you
title.
find it-
Let us know
Yeah.
if you find it.
And yeah, I mean, there's maybe someone out there who's playing some Steam games
my
on their
guess is
Chromebook right now.
We're going to see it show up on. Some people are going to be able to get their hands on it pretty soon. I
Yeah.
think. I don't
hope
think it's
so.
going to be.
Oh,
widely
they're being super sneaky about it too, because yesterday I spent a good 2 hours of my day. It felt like wasted time. It really wasn't, but so they have these things called they're tokens. They're cryptographic hashes. It's funny you say crypto and everyone thinks, oh,
Money.
cryptocurrency, but the fact of the matter is, cryptography and hashes and all that stuff has been around long before cryptocurrency was. Cryptocurrency is just a product of
Right.
these secure transactions. They have these hashes that you can use to enable and launch Borealis on your device, and there's one called Super, which bypasses all the hardware checks. And I actually found the hash to put in, the token to put in, but I still can't find the command to actually launch it. But in the commit, it says something to the effect of, if user has token, blah, blah, blah. If you should have the token, you will know where to find it. It's in the place we all know and love. And that's all it says. I'm like,
And it's very fun,
Yeah.
like the whole command prompt too, where you're doing this. Like,
yeah,
they've-
it's so cool.
They've done the stuff, using hashes and stars and all that.
I'll
It
send you.
looks like
I'll
an
send you a
arcade.
shot. We can throw it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It looks like a little arcade machine.
yeah. So
And
it
so you're
says,
talking about putting in your tokens, to the arcade.
yeah, and the
it's fun.
command is actually insert coin. So it's insert underscore
Yeah,
coin,
I
and then you
love
have to
it.
put in the super token or the test token, and then the little arcade game comes up, and it's all just 8. It's not even 8-bit. It's in
No,
a text
just,
editor.
Yeah, it's just text.
So it looks like a little game console with player 1 and player 2, and then it keeps saying invalid token, obviously. But it's fun. It's fun what they're doing. They
And-
put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, and obviously some of the headlines and even even us, we were a little frustrated by it kind of coming out this way. This wasn't an official announcement or anything, and I'm hopeful that there will be
when it's
really ready, when they roll this thing out, there will be a much more
But
official announcement.
it is
and-
funny though, because like you said, when there's an official announcement, I'm sure they'll make a big deal about it. The only we received the press release beforehand for this. The only real news in the press release was the Windows PC, Android games for PC, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But there has been literally none. Absolutely no statements from Google or Valve in the last 2 years. Is it 2 years now since Khan said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
David Ruddick had an interview with him.
Was it at that Google?
It was at the Google event.
Yeah. It was at least 2, maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was when the rumor started. It wasn't even an official statement. It was just, hey, we're working closely with Valve to try to figure this thing out. Never, not once, in any way, officially or off the record, has Google or Valve said, yes, we are working. We are going to bring Steam Gaming to Chrome OS. And now at the Google Game Developer Summit, Summit.
It actually just fell out.
Yeah.
It didn't just get mentioned. It was on a slide deck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just like,
yeah.
okay, whatever.
But there's been so much coverage of it between now and then. I'm sure they're just like, everybody knows this is a thing that
Right.
we're working on.
It's definitely not a secret.
Yeah. So what let's talk through some of these other things that came out. You all mentioned the keyboard mouse overlay stuff, Stadia sign-in stuff,
Yeah. So
PC games.
Yeah, he just
or,
mentioned
Android.
Gabe just mentioned. They announced a couple months ago about Android games, Google Play games for
Right.
Windows. Idea being just like Android on Chromebooks, you get Android games so they're not doing all Android apps. It's just Android games specifically on Windows, and so there'll be a client kind of. I guess it's basically like the Play Store, the game section of the Play Store, install games and play them. And it was only available in a handful of countries, select markets, but they're now at the summit. They said, we're going to roll this out wider.
Yeah.
So that's cool. There's because to me, like, there's huge ramifications for gaming on Android gaming on both laptops and tablets and all that kind of stuff in this, because you can say what you want about who sells more devices. There are tons of PCs in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Most people, when they need I need a laptop for my kid or for whatever, they go to Best Buy and they're like, hey, I need a laptop that's, isn't horrible for $500.
Like, here's this Chromebook. They're like, I don't know what that is.
I
So
don't know what that is. So they show
or
them.
I'm not sure. I've heard about it, but I'm not sure.
Because I bet if you go to Best Buy and you search Windows laptop and you filter between $400 and $600, there's probably 100 of them.
Yeah,
if
there's-
not more.
There's plenty. So there's plenty of people buying laptops.
And that's what people
like
buy
PCs.
because it's what they know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the fact that now you'll have this ability for Google to push Android games on PC, and they even said, like, they're basically using the same container that we get in
They've just
in Chrome.
curated it to a
Which I'm
Windows
assuming
app.
it's Arc VM, and not that there's no reason they would use the old container for this, but because we haven't seen Arc VM roll out on all Chromebooks yet either. That's a whole nother thing. But so, like, with this being the same container, you've got a lot of the same rules now that apply, and so game developers are not just incentivized to build better experiences for big screens or just for Chromebooks. Now you get a much larger market that just opens up because of this. And it's like, now you have a reason to really think through, should we add mouse and keyboard support? Should we, enable some of these things? Because now all of a sudden all Windows users are going to have the ability to natively run your game.
Because that's the
Is it
thing.
ready?
We've talked about this forever. It's like Google has put the tools out there to make it just insanely simple for developers to get their stuff on larger screens and Chromebooks and stuff like that. And yet it still feels like nobody's jumping on board except for a small handful. But that's because at the end of the day, whether we like to admit it or not, the Chrome OS, the public consumer-facing Chrome OS segment is still very narrow.
Sure.
The use case is still mostly EDU and enterprise. Enterprise is growing a lot, but that is causing a growth in the consumer base. But I think with Google already having the tools in place for developers to easily develop, port their games, whatever they need to do for larger screens, with Windows being available now, like you said, developers, if they don't take notice of this and say, hey, we really need to be pushing this, then they're totally missing the boat. And I just can't imagine them not looking at this and saying, I mean, if I was a developer of an app, especially an app that had in-app purchases and stuff, I'd be over here like, let's go.
Whole huge new swath of users
Yeah.
that you didn't have before. And so all of that will only equate to better stuff on Chromebooks. I mean, there's no downside here at all to me.
Because once the game gets fixed for a larger screen and keyboard and mouse support,
It's just going to work
is that
wherever.
it'll
way.
carry over.
Yeah.
Because it's the same container.
Which is so cool. One of the ones they highlighted in the keynote was Summoner's War, which I haven't played for a while, but it used to be my go-to mobile game before I started playing PUBG and stuff. I mean, I played Summoner's War for, years. I loved it, and it's one of their lead, hey, this has been tweaked perfectly for larger screens.
Right.
That's cool.
And there's so many games that could do that. And I get it. Like Call of Duty or PUBG Mobile or New State or any of those games. Like, the minute you add keyboard and mouse support, changes the game a little bit.
I'm going to own you. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth. Like, I've gotten to the point where I think I'm arguably maybe better with gyroscopic controls and a touchscreen. Like, I can fine tune a little bit better. But if I practice all the time on mouse and keyboard, I think eventually you're better with a mouse and keyboard. You just are going to be you have an advantage. But if you have a large enough group of people that play that way, then you have a thing in the game that notices, hey, that these people get put in this room. No big deal. Like,
yeah, because they did that with
the regular PUBG on Stadia.
PUBG. Yeah,
there just were 8 people playing total, so it didn't really make any sense.
it was great. I mean,
Made it hard to get in matches.
that's a perfect
That was
example,
terrible.
though. Like I'm brutal on like Day of Defeat, but if you had Day of Defeat on mobile, it would probably be a little bit of a learning curve. But I remember the first time playing PUBG on Stadia, I got owned. Yeah, I'm just like, I had never played PUBG outside of the mobile app.
It's almost a different game.
Oh,
It
totally.
feels so.
Yeah.
But you look at games like Fortnite, for instance, that they have pretty advanced algorithms on how they pair people up. So if you're a mobile player, They're not going to throw you in a PC match unless you friend up with some PC people. Then that's
on you.
Yeah, sorry for you that you've chosen to get in that match. But and same thing with like Switch users. They're not going to throw Switch users in with PC players because it doesn't have keyboard and mouse support. So there's ways for them to quickly sort people. You just need enough people to make it worth your while to have to do that as a developer.
Right.
And so far, that's just not been the case because there's not enough people that would pick up an Android game that have a keyboard and mouse attached. You only have the handful of Chrome OS users, basically, that makes up that group, and some tablet users here and there. But that obviously is probably going to change.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's all very good stuff.
Yeah.
And on that same note, like one of the other things they talked about, they kind of quickly glossed over in the keynote, is this thing that we've kind of been tracking, and other sites have been tracking it too, of keyboard mouse overlay for Android games on Chromebooks. And it's going to be exactly what it sounds like. It's like a way to map your keyboard mouse to things on the screen. So if the developer doesn't add keyboard shortcuts and keyboard controls, you can add them yourself.
Right. Which is something they kind of beta tested this with Stadia there for a little while. Is it like rolled out officially for Stadia on mobile now? Do they have the keyboard overlays? I think they do.
Keyboard overlays on Stadia?
So you can launch Stadia on and add some kind of keyboard.
Yeah, they have like a joystick. I
was thinking they had added something else though.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
Anyway,
but yeah, I mean, it's like BlueStacks has always had this.
Been doing it forever. Yeah,
and again, you go back and forth. Like there's certain games where you're like, well, if I add all these shortcuts and stuff, now I'm adding keyboard and mouse support and playing with mobile users on like PUBG Mobile. Is that fair? I don't know how you deal with that. And maybe it's a thing where they allow the developer to say, if they're using this, cut it. But that's the thing. Yeah. Like Chromebooks generally show up. Like if you launch PUBG, a lot of times it'll say, emulator detected. You're in a different server. So the only way to play with other people is to play with other people that are playing on an emulator, which is not very many people. And so,
but on the flip side of that, though, I mean, there are a lot of battle royale games out there, shooters, stuff like that, and that's a big segment of gaming. But as far as mobile gaming goes, it's probably a lot more narrow than PC gaming. Yeah. You think about what your average person sitting down at the coffee shop's playing on their mobile phone. They're playing what do they call those?
Wordle.
Candy Crush.
No, like turn-based games,
turn-based
like Summoner's Wars of Turn. They're playing Candy Crush. They're playing things that there's really no advantage to what platform you're playing on.
Sure.
And most of those games are the ones that have in-app purchases where you buy loot or you buy this or buy. That's where the big draw is going to be. That where these big developers they need to look at this and say, there's zero reason for us to not do this, because they don't have to figure out all that back end stuff. Like, well, who's going to be playing against these people? It doesn't matter,
because there's no advantage. Like a turn-based game has no advantage if I clicked with my mouse versus touch the screen.
What do you do? It's my turn. I go.
And I think that's probably the bigger emphasis with what they're doing here is to say, hey, there's Chromebooks without touchscreens, and these Android games are very hard to play when there's no keyboard and mouse support. And so we want to give people this overlay to put it on there, so you can still play the games that you want to play.
Right.
And, you have a way to interact with the screen, even though you don't have touch controls. Yeah. That's probably where it's going. But let's be honest. I mean, I'm going to try it on PUBG.
Yeah.
The second I can.
Might as well try. See what happens.
Yeah.
Right now.
So the last thing, there was some announcement, and help me out here, basically so that folks can test Stadia without having to create an account.
Yeah, and we
sign in.
looked at it. So every few weekends they'll do free plays. They might do them every weekend now. I don't know, but they do free plays, and I've actually checked a couple of them out because I still have Stadia Pro. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Yeah. So I still have.
I don't know that one thing I paid for that gets me some games.
I don't play it because my kids have actually found a few games that they like, and they've added some new kid friendly games lately, but. I've checked out, they have free plays where you can play all weekend. They did a Madden free play, but games that I don't own through Pro, and I'm assuming that's going to apply to those games.
Yeah,
because we couldn't find any when we looked.
Yeah, it's not there right now. If you go to Stadia Incognito, you got it. The minute you let's try it, you have to sign in. But that's the idea, that there will be some basics, some freebies, some stuff you can try. You're going to be able to get a good taste of what Stadia does, how it works, all that kind of stuff, without having to give over your Google account.
Because that's what they should do, is they should have a library, 3 or 4 or 5 games that you can just play. Yeah. And maybe they're demo versions or they're just one level, whatever. but I don't know. Does GeForce Now? There's one platform that does like you can play for 30 minutes.
That's GeForce Now is free to use. You obviously can't. I'm trying to think what it is. Like their main tier, you only can play for like an hour, or something.
Yeah,
and then you can't play again for a while. And then like the lines, because I turned it off because I wasn't using it, so I was like, I'm not gonna keep paying for this. And so I needed to go do something in Fortnite because a lot of the gift cards with my kids' accounts, like they can't. I think I finally figured that part out, but at one point, because their accounts were tied to the Switch accounts on their kids' accounts, so I couldn't. If they had a gift card from their birthday, I couldn't go apply it to their Epic account.
Yeah, I have that problem with
so
Roblox.
I'd put it on my account, and then I would gift them stuff. And so they're like, "Please gift me this thing," and I hadn't installed it on my phone. I'm just like, ugh. So I pull up GeForce Now, because that was the quickest way for me to load it up. Well, now that I'm on the free version, it'd be like, you're 472nd in the queue, because you get queued up. Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
But but seriously, if they did just like 15 minutes or something like that, because if you have somebody who they've got an aging Xbox or something like that, they don't want to spend $500-600 on the next console or a new PC, and they're like, well, I only played these 2 games, and these 2 games are on Stadia. Let me check it out and play it for 20 minutes to see how well it is. Well, this is awesome. I'll just buy these 2 games and I'll own them for the rest of my life, and I'll play on Stadia. Yep. That's a great draw for them.
Yeah,
I haven't had a console since PS2.
Yeah,
I had an original
Switch
Xbox
is the only one.
Are you a console gamer?
Oh yeah, I have a Switch and a PS5.
I have a Wii in the closet somewhere.
Are you playing this game that everybody's freaking out about, the Elden Ring?
Wordle?
Wordle, yes.
Wordle.
Yeah.
Hurdle.
Quadrurdle?
Ooh, I haven't played Hurdle a couple days. Dang it.
It was a good one yesterday.
Hurdle was?
Yeah.
What was it?
Redbone.
Oh, nice.
See, I would have been like, I know it, but I don't know his stuff well enough.
A couple of my buddies have been playing through
What is
Elden
the name of
Ring.
this?
Elden Ring?
Elden Ring. Okay.
It's
like
George-
a Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Okay.
George R. R. Martin has
I
some
like
involvement. He was
Really?
He didn't like make it, but he was like, what's the story? Do you know?
Collaborated
Sure
or
about
something.
He
that.
like collaborated on it or
Okay.
I
something.
can see that.
Does it have
Yeah.
a
kind of feel?
Has that feel to it? Ooh.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So
And it's
Not my
on
cup of
Stadia,
tea.
right? I think it was the free game last weekend. I should have played it.
No
let's
idea.
Look it up. Stadia.
I would be
what is it
very
called?
Elder
Elden
Scrolls.
Ring.
No, Elden Ring.
Elden.
Elder Scrolls is
That's
on
a different
Stadia.
game.
It's on Stadia, I know.
Stadia not getting Elden Ring.
There you go.
Then that was not
So
the game
no.
that I saw.
So no. Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was Ryan's Racing. No.
Pretty much the same.
Basically is same.
Which is super fun, by the way, if you like little Nintendo-y racing style games.
I load up Stadia and play. Like if I have friends over, we'll sit and play.
You still have Pro?
No,
You
but
just have
we'll
you
play
bought something, didn't
Thumper. I bought a couple of the
that
racing
racing
games that I'll play every now
Did you
and
buy
then.
Thumper?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one night we wanted to play it. and
Thumper's hard,
it's-
man.
Yeah,
I got to, once I got to like 2.2, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's difficult, but
Well, there you go.
but there you have it. So some news. Is there anything else from the summit?
They talked more about the white labeling, or B2B is what they're calling it now.
yeah, they just basically fully said, hey, look, we're transitioning this thing. You
Yeah,
know,
and it's
Stadia,
not
so-
news. I mean, they've already done it. Who was it? It was Verizon or AT&T?
AT&T.
They already did it with, what was it? Batman.
It's Arkham something.
Arkham something.
Legends, Asylum,
Knights.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Silent
there's
Knights?
a bunch of Arkham Knights.
Arkham Knights.
Arkham Silent Nights.
Arabian Nights. That's what it was.
So-
Arabian Nights.
I'm pulling from Michael's article here. So it's called Immersive Stream for Games. Will let companies use Stadia's technology as a white label service.
Yeah, cool.
And we knew this was coming. And honestly, they put too much stuff into Stadia to not leverage it in some way. It's clearly, they took a big swing, and as far as being adopted by a massive amount of people, it's a miss.
Yeah, cloud gaming isn't there.
It's just not.
Like-
I mean, and that doesn't mean like, oh, they missed it and GeForce Now got it, or Xbox Cloud thing, whatever it's
Yeah.
got. I don't know anybody that uses these things on a regular basis as their primary way of playing games.
Apparently, GeForce Now is the
It's the one to go to,
like
but it's still
it
not.
is Arkham Knight.
I
all
have
night.
I have issues with it constantly.
That's what kills me.
yeah.
I saw a Chromebook review the other day. I was talking about it. These guys don't review Chromebooks; they just do tech, and their channel's about the size of ours. I think they have 270,000, but I've heard of them, and they do really. It's always two of them standing in. It's not the Jerky Boys. It's something like that, though. It's
Yeah,
something
I saw
like,
that pop up in my feed. I know
and
exactly.
I mean, they did a good job, but they talked about Android games. They loaded up GeForce Now, and then they talked about like other web browser games. That's it. That's all they talked about.
Yeah.
I'm like, you didn't mention Stadia at all.
Right.
You've got to be living under a rock if you don't know that Chromebook's getting Steam. If you're in the tech world,
Sure.
you know, and it seems like a lot of videos I watch, people are all in on GeForce Now, but
yeah,
I just
and maybe
to me it's no better than anything else.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and it's just I think it'll take time. If it does happen eventually, it will be because PlayStation and Xbox are
Right.
like, this is how we're doing this now. You know, like in the
that's
future,
exactly what
you
it's
don't
gonna
have
be.
consoles,
And that's the reason why it's just like the same reason electric cars are kind of starting to go mainstream, because for all these major car companies have said, hey, we're going to dedicate whole divisions to doing this.
But
Yeah.
you know, these companies have made a killing creating little
Monsters.
computers.
I mean, computers
that are just that are incredibly powerful, that are built for this one specific thing, and they do it perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard
Right.
to say, oh, okay, well, you're going to end up now streaming all of your games, and there's all this stuff.
It-
It's
honestly,
like
let
long
me say,
term,
it would be
hopefully it'll
a
happen.
completely different scenario if it was completely frictionless and seamless.
Yeah,
If you loaded up
absolutely.
Stadia and it always worked,
Right.
exactly the way
Every
you
time.
wanted to, and in most places you ever go, and even over 5G and all that
Yeah,
stuff,
it just
like
works.
It always just works.
Yeah.
This would be a whole different conversation, but it doesn't.
Right.
Technology just isn't there yet.
No,
Yeah.
and it's not even Stadia's fault. Like, I think it's optimized as much as they can optimize it, and same thing with GeForce Now. It's like our connection ability over the internet is just not there.
And that's what kills me. For the last 2 months, there's been these ongoing articles from certain news outlets that I won't mention, but it rhymes with orbs and some other. There's been others, not just them, but talking about, you know, GeForce Now just enabled this blah 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 that gives you 3090 RTX, like trying to make it out trying to make it out as if, hey, if you're using GeForce Now, you are literally going to have the best GPU gaming experience that money can buy without having to buy a $5,000 graphics card. So you're trying to tell me that a retail graphics card, that's what you're comparing their service to. It's because that's what they use.
Right,
they
right.
use those on their servers. You're trying to tell me that is demolishing Stadia's Google servers that have these giant Xeon processors and all that stuff. It's what Robbie said. It's all about network connectivity.
Yeah.
Every gaming server like GeForce Now and Stadia and all these big name ones, even Microsoft's, all theirs, they have more than enough computing power to run whatever games you want.
Yeah.
That's not the problem.
No, the back end.
The answer
not
is
the issue.
Starlink. I'm telling you, that's the answer right there.
Starlink is going to be the future.
Space. Everything. All the answers are in space.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like as these things go, like what's going to happen is we're going to keep getting more and more servers everywhere. The closer the servers are to you, the less issue all this is going to be.
Right.
Right now, they only have X amount of servers to serve these games, and it's like, do we want to keep spending the money to make this better? They're probably not going to.
Yeah.
And so someone else will come along at some point in time, or eventually there're just going to be enough server places and outlets for these types of things to work properly.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting with Stadia or GeForce Now and any of these streaming gamings, and like what Google's doing with white labeling Stadia, is that while games are cool and it's neat to be able to do that kind of stuff, imagine being able to run wildly powerful video editing or other creative software in this exact same way.
Yep.
Right.
And because if it can run smoothly and you don't have any issues there, it means you probably have a good enough connection to be able to upload and download stuff so that, well, I can't, it takes me too long to upload a video. Yeah, I mean, if you're on the type of connection that we're going to start it wasn't 5-6 years ago that nobody had gig internet anywhere.
Right.
And now lots of people have it. Like, it will change over time. The backbone infrastructure of the internet will get good enough to where, cool, Stadia and GeForce Now are completely legitimate contenders
Right.
for streaming gaming. But that means we can be streaming a lot of things
Yeah.
instead of trying to get beefed up computers that can
there's
run
that
stuff.
one company I talked about them a while back, but the NFL uses them. They use them for pretty much for like real time editing.
Oh yeah. I forget.
Anyways, it does everything in the cloud, but you're talking about super powerful servers that have all the stuff you need. But I guarantee you the NFL has a gig plus up and down connections with whatever they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it requires. It requires the stability of infrastructure, because that's always been our hang up on video editing. There are some really good cloud editors out there, but exporting and downloading and all that stuff
Yeah.
takes
It's just not realistic.
ages. It's not.
Or like when
no.
you travel, it's not realistic
No.
because it's not like, oh, our hotel, of course, is going to have gig internet.
No.
Of course, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, like, and so that's an infrastructure thing. That's not something you can change quickly,
Yeah.
but it will change.
Mhm.
It is
Eventually.
going to change. Like mobile data will get fast.
Or, yeah,
enough,
I was
like,
gonna say, or 5G will just get fast enough.
because
the
that's
next
the thing.
version.
It's not
will be-
like as the years go by and data transfer speeds get faster, we're all of a sudden going to start recording in video formats that take twice as much. Like they'll increase a little bit, but
Yeah.
they're not going to increase as fast as the bandwidth will increase next to them.
Right.
And so eventually it'll level out to where it's like, yeah, that 150 gig project that we have, being able to move that over the existing infrastructure that we generally find ourselves
That's a
in.
good question. So
It will-
do
it will
you
move
think
quickly.
we'll go beyond 8 and 9K? I mean, is there any reason to?
not. I mean,
What's the point?
yeah. I mean, like
You can't see
the
it.
reason. Yeah, like Marquez has said, like with him
capturing more
capturing.
data.
Yeah, you're just capturing more data. So it's not necessarily about the actual like output resolution, because he's cropping in.
Yeah.
Like you can capture this much larger image and then crop in, and move around the frame, more. But I mean, a lot of it's just based on our screens that we're watching this content on. Like,
Right. And at some point, like you can look this stuff up. At some point, the distance from the screen, there's a very easy
Your
algorithm to
eyes-
go. Your eyes can't make it out. I don't care how good
Right.
your vision is. So it's diminishing returns.
And the jump between full H or 1080p and 4K happened a lot faster than 4K. People aren't rushing out to buy the next 8K TV because let's be honest, why?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need 8K honestly from a visual standpoint, like as a display, until you start getting into 15-foot screens.
Right.
Really, realistically. Yeah, you could have I mean, there are movie theaters that are excited that they have a 4K projection.
Sure.
And no
That's
one in that audience can tell.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't find pixels on
It
the
was
screen.
when was the last time you went to a decent movie theater and walked out and you're like, man, the image
I could
looks a
see
little
those pixels.
bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a thing. And so,
Yeah.
I don't think the jump from 4K to 8K as far as monitors and displays, it will take. It'll take a while, and then I'm
If
not
it
even
does.
confident it will be a thing that anyone cares about. Like, would you be better off OLED getting better and refresh rates being faster
Yeah.
and screens being brighter?
That's me.
and
I'd rather have
thinner
truer
and-
blacks and better refresh rate than
Yeah.
I would
because you don't
more
need
pixels.
it. Like,
yeah.
like if I can get to a 4K, a 75 or 80 inch 4K display, and get my face up on it, and still not see pixels, like, why am I going to cram 4 times more pixels in here? Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
There's no sense in doing it.
And so then, like, to kind of bring it back here, like, if the things we're creating, if streaming games and all of this stuff is going to end up kind of being the same as far as output, the connectivity getting better
what
to
it's
be
all
able
about.
to even this stuff
It'll
out
even it
over
out.
time.
Yeah,
Like
and
you
then
said,
there's
you said
also-
we got to 4K quick, and so
Right.
it's like we went
Yeah.
from 720p to 4K real fast. And I
Yeah.
just
Then
don't
now
think
it's like-
the infrastructure was like, now what?
Yeah, but like, what were you saying? Yeah, the other side of that is just little technologies like prioritizing Wi-Fi and the devices that we use to stream. Because I mean, I don't have gig at my house, but my download speeds average about 650. I don't have a problem with internet. But if you're gaming or something like that, and then someone on the other end of the house decides they want to download a 20 gig video because they're working on a project, it's gonna ding your gameplay. So that's where they're gonna have to find little technologies to do that, and that's not hard. I mean, Chrome, you can do prioritizing and all that stuff, but it just needs to be built in. You don't want to be in the middle of a big match and
Right.
then all of a sudden your guy stuttered for 1 second
Yeah.
and you got shot because
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
your kids
when
are
it's
gonna be
when it's a
grounded.
secondary thing, it's like, this is what I play like
Yeah.
on the road or
It's
whatever.
fun. Just
You're
little-
like, whatever. But if you're trying to make it like, hey, this is your console,
Yeah.
it's just a different level. Like,
not
you
the
can't
same.
have those little jumps and glitches, and you just
Yeah.
can't. And
Yeah.
that's a lot to ask for the state of our current internet, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. I think that's it for this week's episode. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching, and we'll catch you all next week. See ya.